I'm glad you agree.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Being Welcome Back.
Google, pull up this guy's full life story. Oh, I want to read his life story real quick.
Okay, so, a long time ago, in the galaxy we're in right now, there was a man with a nut. And he said, you know what? One ain't enough. So he went to the doctor and he asked for more. The doctor said, you already got 3.
The duck walked up to the lemonade stand. He said to the man running the stand, "Hey, got any nuts?"
And the doctor said, watch this. And performed surgery on his grapes.
So anyway, how are you doing today, Cory?
I'm in pain, but I'm alive.
I mean,
I was reading One Piece today.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
And you know, reading
My
One Piece,
thoughts.
Yeah, so it actually reminded me why I like One Piece so much, like right from the beginning, because I decided to start rereading One Piece today. Oh yeah, I guess I read the new chapter too, but that's not what I was talking about. New chapter's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on how much we actually get to see of the developments that are happening.
Yeah, it's what I said the last time I think we were talking about it. So this run started me with a no experience Keyblade, so that's all I have. I'm a little pissed off. But it's what I said last time, where it's like the best parts of this current arc right now aren't aren't the stuff.
This actual arc. It's the side story stuff.
Yeah, it's not the stuff happening in Egghead. It's the stuff happening in other places. So when it shows us what's happening in other places, like, ooh, I'm interested.
But even then, I'm just not a fan of like current One Piece's art style.
Yeah, it's pretty bad compared to EG One Piece, but you know, now we're never gonna sound like boomers.
Yeah.
Boomer alert. You know what? I was catching up on the anime wise. I'm already caught up manga wise on it. It's very good.
Okay.
There's this little thing called Vinland Saga. You should check it out. You should check it out. That's all I'm gonna say. I was thinking about it the other day because we were talking about being interested in it. Maybe.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you would probably really love it.
I'm sure I would. I am a pretentious prick.
But you just have to like, you'd have to accept some like goriness and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's also like I don't think like the level of blood and gore in that from like a couple of clips I've seen would be too much for me necessarily. Because you know it's like I've watched like stuff like FMA and I know I've watched stuff gorier than that, but you know it's like I'm like not. It's not like some amount of it bothers me. It's just like there's like a threshold where it gets to be too much.
Yeah.
So like I know I would definitely appreciate it and like it a lot if I got around to watching or reading it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of have to get around to it.
Well, yeah. And here's what I'll say. I think if you read it, it'll be one of those things where it's like, you know, you might not like some parts of it, but it'll be some of the best character writing you'll ever read. Like, genuinely, it's very well done. The fact that characters do what they do because of actual character growth is very refreshing from the series.
That is always a positive.
And it's like, I think Vinland Saga, the second season right now is like 15 episodes deep or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just now, and it's just been like episode after episode of like people just waxing poetic to each other, basically. So,
and it's like I am here for that.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
for whatever reason, on my wife's Instagram reels, it was hitting her with a whole lot of like Hunter x Hunter stuff today.
Mm.
And there's one of them where there's a guy and he's like, and it's like, in quotes, it's like, you should get caught up on Hunter x Hunter. And it just flashes to like multiple pages of like 1 or 2 pictures, but just like a ton of dialogue. And he's just like, nah, I'm out. I'm like, but those are great pages.
So the modern age has left some of our brethrens behind with the ability to comprehend reading. That's not an insult to people, but it's like people don't want to sit and like read long things anymore.
Yeah, which to be honest, which to be fair, I don't necessarily blame him either, because
there's some times where it's fucking annoying. Well, when it's a good story, when it's written well, reading stuff isn't like a displeasure.
But it's like there are even some days where I'm like, man, I want to read, but I just can't. I started reading at work here recently. I like some of my old Redwall books, because they're like small paperbacks, so I've been keeping them in my apron, and like when there's downtime, instead of hopping on my phone, I'll just like pick that up and start reading.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I love reading like text, honestly, about as much as I like reading manga. But like there are some times where it's just like I just don't have the energy to.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's why we have visual mediums to do stuff with. The visual medium that I was watching.
Yeah.
Today. I was watching something that I don't think you've touched either. Gintama. Cool.
Gintama, that's one that I have thought about getting into a couple times.
It's very good. The thing about Gintama, I think you'd really like Gintama. The thing about Gintama is it's just like you'll just be watching and it's like dozens of episodes of like comedy and you're just like laughing it up, and then it will just hit you with like a run of 4 episodes that are just serious and you'll just like bawl your fucking eyes out, and it's like back to the goofiness, and it's like, huh?
Oh wait, there's serious arcs?
Yes, there's serious arcs like just in between, like randomly. It's like, what the fuck?
That kind of has me excited, actually.
Yeah, like they'll just introduce a bunch of characters, and they're like these 1-bit characters, and they're like, oh, yeah, the funny character comes in and does their funny bit, and it's like, haha, and then like the characters will come in and it's like, oh, I wonder what the funny bit is this time, and then it's just serious, and serious shit happens, you just fucking bawl your eyes out, you're like, what the fuck? And then it just goes back to the funny next episode, it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, okay, I might actually want to read it now.
That's Gintama, yeah, Gintama's great, like, genuinely. There's like some where it's like shows of that kind where it's like there's some Japanese references that'll fly over heads, but they do their best to like explain them in like translator notes and stuff. You might have to pause the show if you really want to read them, but like there's some Japanese jokes that fly over the head. There are some like older references, but like some of them stand the test of time because they're like One Piece or Hunter x Hunter references. But like overall, Gintama is just a lot of fun, and then as the series progresses, it gets those more kind of serious streaks in between where it's just like some of the like genuinely best shonen writing I think out there, just like hidden in between all these comedy episodes.
That does make me want to watch it. I know the main thing I know Gintama for is that one of their bits, because like my favorite game series, a Tales of series, it did reference in one of their bits, and it's like we're doing Tales of all of these, and that's all I know of Gintama.
It's a funny series, it's a goofy series, and it'll rip your heart out at some points. And like even in some of the comedy episodes, like it'll just like take a couple of minutes to be serious for a minute. Like it'll just be like, this creepy old dude is like going to an idol's performances all the time, is being creepy and like stalking her, and then it's like, well, actually, the twist, he's actually her dad, and it's like it brings out like a heartwarming story. It's like, oh, it's like in this fucking comedy episode. So
I do have a lot of appreciation for that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I gotta say I like it. I do gotta say I don't like the seed not Disney. The damn Keyblade. Gone through all the
Oh yeah,
early
because you're
places trying to get
you're stuck with no XP Keyblade right now, right? So you're just like,
I want to get this early XP from like Friday on Halloween Town, but I can't do it because it's not giving me any fucking Keyblades that I can use.
poor thing.
This so be annoying to go through really good.
So speaking of comedy, I recently read through and got caught up with a new manga. I talked to you a little bit about it, just like message you about it, but Mashal of Muscles and Magic.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up really liking it. So at first I kind of read it on a whim, just like, gotta read something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the downtime at work or when I'm scratching my wife's back at night.
Yeah.
And honestly, I ended up really liking it because it feels like once I got past the first few chapters, like it felt like it was so obviously like a reference to like One's manga. It's like the character looks like a dead ringer from Mob. The guy who's just really physically fit, beating up on a bunch of like magic stuff, is obviously like One Punch Man inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's definitely a lot more like generically shonen than something like One Punch Man, like the comedy and the vibes are definitely related enough to where it's like even if it's a diet One Punch Man, you know, like that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
That being said, the story is very generic shonen, but it is also really good. I think it didn't make me cry, but it did almost make me tear up a couple times. And my particular favorite thing is that they're not afraid to use the same joke twice, but they only do it if it's going to be funnier the second and third or fourth time.
No One Piece problem.
Yeah, at least not yet. Because, like, one of my favorite ones is. Because, like, one of the big dads is that, like, he'll do something so fast. Because he's just, you know, so athletic. And, like, no one will know what happened, but there will be, like, one character who, like, sees it and then explains it afterwards. And they're like, I think I just saw something I wasn't supposed to see. As like he's trapped and he like through sheer force of like his lungs, he breathes in to suck in a stone out of the air and then spits it out at like sonic speed to get out of this situation while also getting his golden coin back. And the girl off to the side was just like, I don't think I was supposed to see that.
You know, it had quite a few gags that I laughed at. I read the first, I want to say like 30 or so chapters. I enjoyed it.
30 or so, yeah.
I got up to the point where it was like the first kind of little serious thing, I think. But then after that I stopped because I was just not too interested at the time. There are a couple other series that like are similar to that where I'm not sure if I regret it yet. I don't know if you've heard of Sakamoto Days.
I have heard of that one. I haven't actually checked it out myself though.
That's another kind of comedy-based one that I dropped pretty early on, but I've been hearing like people just keep talking about it recently. So I'm like, maybe I should have come back to that.
I can definitely say Mashal is probably better in a binging context.
Mm-hmm.
Because like yeah, I can't say for sure if I would have liked it as much if I had been following it week by week the whole time.
Yeah.
But I also tend to like binging things better anyway, so
Yeah, like with that.
yeah. Haven't watched them in weeks or in months, maybe a year. But when I go back, you know, it's gonna be let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to say about Mashal? Oh, the artwork in it is also exquisite.
Yeah.
Especially because cannot draw legs, and I can't tell if it's on purpose or not, but like it wasn't until I was like 100 chapters in that I noticed. And and there was like this really intense fight. It was really good, and I'm just like, what's a little bit weird there? And then I went back a couple chapters and I reread them, and like every time they were legs, they were like spindly, and the shoes were like really sharp, and I'm like, has it been like this the whole time? And it was so funny. And I'm not sure if it made me like it more or less, but like it's there. Definitely there. So, final verdict of my Mashal review. Number second best joke is I don't think I was supposed to see that. And number one best joke is when he starts bunting away, or he gets like horde of giant spears thrown at him, and he catches one and then like bunts all the other ones away like they're like baseballs.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's Mashal.
Definitely funny games. So might pick it back up with your recommendation here. But you did remind me of that. I don't think I was supposed to see that bit. I do remember that now.
The anime is also out soon, which once it gets a dub, I'll probably watch it just to see.
You gotta watch the legs of the anime so they, or not.
Yeah. Weekly leg review. Let's see, what else have I been reading or watching?
Came up on my feed that I was side-eyeing recently was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I was like, oh, it's tempting me back. I came up on my feed the other day and I was like,
Yeah.
Can't look at me that way.
FMA is so good. Oh, we haven't talked about this on stream. I talked to you a little bit about it in the DMs, but I read all of Dragon Ball Super, the manga. And it was kind of how I expected it to be, but better. Because, like, my expectation was, based on what my reviews, is that everything that recapped the anime had, like, a couple of nice moments, but was mostly garbage. But then the original arcs afterwards were good. And that mostly held up to my expectations, except the original arcs weren't just good, they were, like, pretty great, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't and don't plan to read it, but...
That's very fair. And honestly, I'm not sure if I recommend it.
It's one of those, like... Dragon Ball's one of those things where you know if you like it.
Yeah.
You know very well if you like it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because the anime is very similar in that, like, yeah, it's got a couple of good moments, but, yikes.
Yeah. I started with the anime, like, back when I was a kid, and I was like, back then, I was like, what do people like about this? Obviously, I've grown up, and I've been like, okay, I understand now. But like, back when I was a kid, it was like, there's no stakes, I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh, I did also read the original Dragon Ball. Like, I kind of went through and read, like, the whole, like, Dragon Ball manga experience from start to finish.
Yeah.
In rereading the Dragon Ball, like, original manga, it's like, it's very good and very funny, except for all of the gags where one of the characters is being an actual criminal.
Yes.
We're gonna call this the Muten Roshi problem, where it's like a character is so legitimately funny and inspiring and interesting, except for the fact that 80% of the time they're on screen, they're an actual criminal.
So come on.
It's so awful.
Yeah. I get you. I mean, they are not the only characters who suffer from stuff like that. Like I said, Hisoka, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Hisoka's on screen, it's like, wow, I love this character. And then you think for a second, you're like, I shouldn't be saying that.
And then you're thinking, why was he hard in that one scene? Why did he use the speech bubble to show that?
Like, wait a second. Hold on. I gotta think about this for a second. Why did he get a boner there? It's not good.
It's like, you know it's bad when the most charitable interpretation is that it's because Bisky was there. And you know that's wrong. But that's the most charitable interpretation. And that's still bad. But yeah, Master Roshi, best character in Dragon Ball, worst character of all time.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the same thing with Mineta.
Well,
Like, if they removed all the jokes where Mineta was being, like, an actual, like, you should be taken out of the class and, like, put into an institution for this, Mineta would be great. Like, when me and my wife finished this season of the anime, like, between, like, Mineta, like, with all Mineta's lines, and even, like, the joke lines from Mineta, like, after the action, like, kind of like the last, like, wind-down episodes, they were funny. And it was like, wow, like, Mineta would be our favorite character if he wasn't a freaking criminal. Because there's, like, the scene where he's, like, mimicking Todoroki trying to be cool, and Zero is just, like, telling him to stop. And it's great.
yeah.
And of course,
You done any reflection on, or not reflection, but have you done any more watching, I guess I should say, of that series?
of Hirowaka?
Reading, or whatever, since you can't really watch more?
No. Yeah. Since the anime kind of stopped, I think because my opinion on manga and anime is still so squarely in, like, the anime is better 80% of the time, I think I am going to go ahead and wait for more anime before I read on. So your rants will have to wait.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with wanting to hold on to the flame as long as you can, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to hear you rant, we could just bring up, like, Kingdom Hearts lore.
Sure. Be topical.
That night we were on call until, like, what, 3 or 4 a.m. talking about frickin' Data Sora and Keyblades.
No, that's what it was. The talk.
Well, we were talking. I think the main talks we were having that night were about Keyblade mechanics, and about how I was convinced that Data Sora was going to be like their like last Keyblade wielder.
That's not.
I was.
Let's not get into this. Let's not do that.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Wait,
go insane.
Was it? It's like, maybe warming the heart wasn't the phrase I should have used there.
All I remember about, think about Keyblades and what I think about them is the fact that in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's very distinct. The fact that there was only one Keyblade that it chose its master, and at the end when Mickey pulled out the second one, it was like a surprise, like, ooh, like there's something mysterious about this. Like there's a second one. And now these days it's everyone has a fucking Keyblade.
Yep.
So there's something a little magical about the Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 1, you know? He usually steals it from Sora, and it's like there's something you know, it's this unique weapon that only one person has. You might have a second one. And I say it's actually everyone has a keyblade. That's not the direct
Not
keyblade
only does
mechanics.
everyone have a keyblade, anyone can have a keyblade. They just have to have been like diddled by a keyblade master at some point.
Keyblade Master has to have taken some weird perverse interest in them at some point in their life. they get a keyblade.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's like technically no one did the ceremony on me, but I have a keyblade master inside of me. You see, right now.
Yeah, it's not even entirely true for all the characters. Axel just whips one out for no fucking reason. Like technically, I knew some keyblade people who held keyblades at one point.
This way.
Yeah, technically I date kept and gaslit a keyblade master.
This way. Let's go.
But she girl bossed me.
This way. Let's go.
Kingdom
This
Hearts is
way.
infuriating.
Let's go.
One of my friends in another server who doesn't play Kingdom Hearts, he he watched one of my streams. I think it was the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC.
This way. Let's go.
And he still, to this day, will bring it up and laugh about how, at the end of the DLC,
This way. Let's go.
when it shows,
Let's go.
or at the beginning or whatever, when it shows Riku, like, saying goodbye to all the Birth by Sleep characters as they go into a portal,
Let's go.
and me just going, oh no, they're gonna make another game about this, no. Like, he still brings up to this day about how sad I sounded that they're gonna make another game.
Let's go.
So
This way.
disappointed by it.
Let's go.
But also, like, you definitely should be disappointed by that. 100%.
Because they're gonna do it, and I'm pissed off already thinking about it.
Let's go.
I'm not ready for it. Birth by Sleep
Yeah,
2.
that's so funny. Oh, and the new Pokemon series has started. Can't watch it yet because it's gonna take forever to dub it, but it started.
Finally, Ash is dead. Rejoice.
Ash is dead. And the new opening is fire.
You start up and it's like Crab Rave and just Ash is gone.
Krabby Rave.
This monster has persisted
Although that
for
is-
20 years, sucking the life out of any other protagonist and taking their place.
What's sad though is that I probably am going to cry a lot whenever we get around to finishing the anime.
Are they planning on
But that's also just the type of person I am.
like wrapping it up?
Oh, so well, because the dub takes longer to come out. So the new anime has started in Japan, and there's still like one more batch of episodes to be released in English for Journeys. And then there's that batch of episodes that's kind of like the post Journeys, like Ash's Last Hurrah. That's like 13 episodes. Where he goes and says goodbye to Team Rocket and like meets Pidgeot again. Yeah, and then after that, it'll be done, and we'll start getting Horizons. Although I don't know if that's going to have a different release schedule than like Netflix gets it.
Well, let's see it then.
Me too. The opening has me sold on it, but Pokemon's had good openings since X and Y. It's kind of funny because, like, if you go to sit down and watch like every Pokemon opening, only in Japanese because the English ones suck. Well, the English ones suck after like starting sometime in like Gen 4.
Well, speaking of English versus Japanese Pokemon stuff, friend of the channel, Catweepoop, in the chat. The Pokemon sub I saw doesn't use English Pokemon names, so for the first half of the episode, I thought they immediately nicknamed their Pokemon.
She's just watching the sub. I don't have the heart to do that. Pokemon dub's not fantastic as far as modern dubs go, but it's fine.
I mean, there's not a lot of dubs that are fantastic, I'd say. And I'm not even an elitist.
That's true.
A lot of
It's
dubs
like-
just, like... So here's the thing that I believe in, and it's, who's the Ghibli director? I forget his name.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, Miyazaki. And there's a quote by him where people are like, "What should I watch your movies in? Should I watch them subbed or dubbed?" And he's like, "Watch it in whatever language you're familiar with, because that way the actors portraying the roles can get their points across." And it's like, I agree with you, Miyazaki. I really do. If the actors play the role correctly, that's the issue. It's like, unfortunately, a lot of voice actors, I feel like, don't. And there are some established voice actors in the industry that are very good at what they do. But it's like, sometimes you just listen to a dub and it's just like, this person just like reading the script for the first time and they don't understand, like, they know what their character wishes to do and stuff like that. Like,
It's like, I think it's for me is that there's a lot of hang-ups in like dub voice and acting in particular, where there's like a couple of like specific voices that have been like ingrained in anime culture.
it's true as well.
So it's like sometimes the dub will just kind of get stuck and someone's doing like the cool guy voice. You know, the I wish I was Eric Vale, basically.
Anytime I watch
Or
like an
like-
old anime dub and I just hear fucking Führer Bradley's voice, I'm like, it's him, Pog, I'm bugging. It's the same voice. He does the same
so
voice
it's
for
like-
every character.
But it's like a good one. So
It's
I
a
ain't gonna
good
complain.
voice.
In terms of like great anime dubs, I'd probably put FMA up there.
Yeah, no, FMA is like one of the ones where I think it's fine to recommend it. First time dub viewing.
Yeah, I think FMA, Psyche K. And comedies kind of did a pass because even if some of the voice acting is definitely a choice, it helps.
Mhm.
So I'd say like Psyche K, FMA, and some other ones. Honestly, that new
Evangelion.
dub, I still haven't watched Evangelion.
Evangelion has some issues with the dub. So I don't even want to recommend people watch it on Netflix because it's so like. I don't even want to think about it. How like dirty they did that. Well, I guess we're gonna be leaving the floor. I guess, you know. So, even Evangelion's original English dub wasn't the best, but it was passable. And it was like, it was still good enough to like that I'd recommend people watch the dub. Maybe not, you know, over the sub. Maybe watch the sub, but you know, it's up to you. Personal preference at that point. And it had a lot of like very distinct lines that have kind of ingrained with culture. You know, I'm so fucked up. If you know where that line's from. But there's like a lot of lines that are just ingrained into the culture because of like the way they were delivered in that dub. The Netflix dub, so when it got ported over to Netflix, they wanted to redub it, and the reason why is because so the creator of Evangelion Anno has gone to make the remakes and has shown that he really doesn't understand what the fuck made his series popular in the first place. So I don't know if it was him or if it was one of the other like producers or someone that went to an American showing of one of the Evangelion movies in the dub, and they saw some of the lines being like laughed at, and they were like, preposterous. Oh, this can't be. You can't laugh at these lines. And so they wanted to remake the whole thing with the dub with new lines, and the lines had to be literal translations. Which, if you know the big debate in translating stuff from Japanese to English is literal versus kind of speculative translations.
Like how much liberty do you take with it?
Yeah, and so the Netflix Evangelion dub is completely literal, and it's very garbage because of it. It's really bad. So, what can you do in that situation? It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
My recommendation to people is genuinely look online for a pirated version that has the original dubs if you want to watch dub, because the Netflix version is that bad. It's really atrocious.
That's fair. That is sad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh, you know what? I can think of 2 more dubs that are fantastic. Tomo is Not a Girl. That comedy that came out last season. The dub is really good. And one cool thing about it is that the same actress plays one of the characters, Carol. Same actress plays her in both Japanese and English, which is a really neat touch.
I hope you aren't being drowned out by me quick running into Roxas. Now I think about this.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think your voice is higher. I'm going to turn on the game after this. I think your voice is higher than it, but now that I think about it, I'm like, wait a second.
It's because my voice isn't as mic'd as it usually is, because I'm on a headset mic.
I think you're over it, but I don't know if it's enough.
Okay. I mean, nothing I say has any value.
It's not true.
See, I've been doing a lot of Pokemon recently. Yeah, that's true. But so I finally bit the bullet on Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pass, which, for the record, I don't recommend it.
No.
It is not worth it.
Nope.
Unless you're specifically in the situation where you are paying it with like lots of other people chipping in, so you're really only paying like a couple extra bucks for it.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not doing it. I just have the family plan anyway, so I might as well let other people use it. But yeah, so I got the Plush Expansion Pass and have been able to actually look at some of the N64 emulation on there. And it's something.
Yeah. My recommendation to people wanting to play N64 games is just play them on the computer. Not even like a slight, but like, come on, Nintendo.
So here's the thing: is that like the 3D models do actually look really good in Pokemon Stadium. Like the upscaling for those is good, and the 3D environments are also really good. Like it definitely has that like low poly but like clean textured look. The issue is that their emulation does, or like their scaling or whatever, it doesn't do anything to help the 2D elements. So like the really cool like pre-rendered graphics that they use like for the title screen and for like the backgrounds when you're in like the menus, those look really dirty.
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem with like all early 3D emulation, like getting like PS1 stuff, and like PS2 stuff, like some of that, like the older Final Fantasies and those systems, like getting those to work correctly and not look like ass is an impossible task.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Because it's you kind of run into an issue where you kind of have to decide. It's like, do you take the better clarity on the models or the more cohesive look for the whole thing? Because if you just upscale it all and apply like kind of like some consistent filters to the whole thing, then the models will never look as good as if you actually increase the resolution for those.
Yeah.
But when you do something like that, the pre-rendered artwork and the 2D elements will usually look a lot better. But if all you do is you know, just like increase the internal resolution and leave it at that, then you're gonna have a worse experience with your 2D elements. So it's like I understand that it's a hard thing to do, but it is still kind of disappointing.
Yeah. I was just talking about that's reminded me of.
And not.
No, go on. Yeah, I thought you couldn't.
Oh, you can go ahead and say what it reminds you of. I'll have more to add.
I was just gonna say, talking about like the PS1 stuff and like emulation with that stuff related. The what is it? Was it Final Fantasy IX or whatever? Which Square game? I don't even remember Final Fantasy. It was definitely a Square game. It got a remake
Was
recently.
I know Chrono Cross got one recently. I didn't play it,
No,
but
it
I
wasn't
heard
Chrono
about
Cross, but it was one from that era that recently got one, and they had completely lost like the background files,
it. Oh no.
so like they couldn't upscale the background files, so they used AI to upscale them, and it obviously didn't look that great. I wanted to say it was Final Fantasy IX, but I don't think they made Final Fantasy IX recently.
Yeah, no, it got a HD port like a couple years ago.
Thinking of that, it's definitely a Square game, or at least a Square similar game.
I'm trying to think about what's gotten like re-releases or ports or whatnot recently. There's the Tale of Symphonia one, which was doo-doo, I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I
If the
think
collector's edition,
most of Square's
the collector's
releases are
edition
kind of
was any
doo-doo.
good, I would have gotten that.
Yeah, I think most of Square's releases are kind of doo-doo. They
Yeah,
always
it's a
try to
real
do.
shame. On the
They always try to do like half-baked tech shit, like with the Chrono Trigger re-release or whatever.
mm-hmm.
They originally re-released it on phones, which is fine, whatever. And so they gave it like a new like little thing for phones that doesn't look bad on phones, but if you would put it on like a PC, it would look like ass. And so they did a PC. They did a PC remake, and what did they do? They took the fucking phone sprites and just like slapped them on there. And it was like, what the fuck are you doing, Square?
Yeah, it's like why?
This feels strange.
Mm-hmm. It's like they're not putting in no effort, but they're putting in
I'd say it's close enough.
no effort. Close to no effort. Yeah, basically no effort. Yeah. The one thing though is that at least for PlayStation stuff scales up better than N64 does.
Yeah,
If you like do like the original hardware route.
that's because PlayStation stuff isn't like true 3D or whatever. It's like fake 3D or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called. The difference.
Yeah, so the main difference is like if you're comparing like PS1 and Saturn to like N64, is that the N64 applies like a filter to everything by default, and any upscaling you do with the N64 has to account for that. Whereas PS1 and Saturn don't, as well as they have higher quality video options right out the box.
Okay.
Oh, I love the design of those little nobodies. I'm just looking at your screen for a second. The ones that like turn into swords are so cute. But let's see. I was still talking about the N64 emulation on Switch. So it's like it looks fine for a lot of the stuff, especially stuff that doesn't have too much in the way of 2D elements. But there's also an issue where there's some sound emulation issues in Stadium that's really annoying. It's not ever present, but like when it pops up, it's very jarring to me. But I also played the original a lot.
So sound is like impossible, and I have nothing but respect for every single sound engineer that has to work in a tech system. Because I recently, my group project this semester was an NES emulator. Originally was supposed to be an SNES emulator, but we dialed back our expectations a little bit. And so it's a NES emulator. And I had done kind of like the bus and like the clock and like keeping system time and stuff like that. And when we got to the kind of part after the CPU and the main system designing, we moved on to different parts where it's like we need the cartridge design, we need the graphics unit design, we need the audio unit design, and we need the controllers, like all these different elements. And so I was one of the people put on audio. Let me tell you, not a fucking fun experience at all. Maybe like hundreds upon hundreds of lines just to get it into a state that isn't even working correctly. Like it makes beeps and bloops, but they aren't even the right ones. Like it's bad. Like audio work is atrocious when it comes to tech. I do not feel bad for anyone who has that actually work in that part of the industry, because it was really awful.
Oh yeah, especially because all the older systems have such different timings and
So it's like you have
stuff
to
compared to.
So I had to design the clock to integrate all the different elements as well. That's what I'm doing. So I'm designing the audio processing unit, all these different elements. And it's just I'm trying to keep everything in sync and stuff, and it's monka annoying. But I'm off audio now. Someone else took it, and they're gonna finish it up because I did the early parts, and they're gonna do the later parts. I'm like, have fun with that. It's gonna. I do not care if it sounds like shit in the final product. If there's any sound, if there's any beeps and bloops, I'm gonna be happy with it. So. I do not care if it sounds like ass.
Fair enough. And I will say that at the very least, the N64 stuff, it's not the most egregious example I've heard by any means. It's not like the, what was it, that Sega collection they released a couple years ago? That was really bad with it.
Yeah. I have a Sony collection that released. The mini Sony.
Oh yeah. I think, because the biggest thing I noticed with N64 is that if it's something that's playing for a while, so the intro for Pokemon Stadium 1, where the only time where there's a really specific timing thing that matches up is when the balloons are popping at the end. Whereas at the very end of the intro and their balloons, there's do 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 do. Though that part is off, which is why I noticed it right off the bat. And then any of the moves that have longer that last a long time, like strength or body slam, where there's really long windups, the impact sound will be a little bit off from the animation.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also those are some of my best or some of my favorite move animations to watch, which is also why I noticed it right off the bat. So it's one of those where it's I'm probably being more nitpicky than most people.
Yeah.
Because I was still playing those games near daily in the lead up to the release of it. And then there's also the lack of any inter-game connectivity, which is... I understand why they wouldn't do it, because... especially considering that it's not a standalone game release, it's as part of a separate Nintendo emulator collection.
Yeah.
I would not expect them to have home connectivity in a product like that. Now, if it was a standalone release, like the Pokemon Company released it, and they didn't have it, I would be livid. Because I feel like that would be a lot more achievable. But I understand why they didn't have it for this. It's unfortunate that they decided to release it in that state, because especially if you want to do round 2 with rentals only, it is abysmal, an abysmal experience. It's terrible.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know what they could have done, like you said, other than implementation that apparently Blemishes not having.
Yeah. So it's I don't necessarily blame them too much for it, because anything would have been a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
You know, they would have had to include a Pokemon Red save that already had a lot of good Pokemon in it, but that's not the same. Even so, it's I understand there was no real good way to do it. but it's also like kind of a shame.
Yeah.
But there is a fun side benefit to that, in that it means that technically we have an online playable metagame for Gen 1 Stadium rentals only. And it's actually really fun.
I'm happy for you.
I haven't been
Despite
able to
your
play it,
despite your convincing, I'm never gonna be playing.
I know, but it's a fun format. Persian is the best Pokemon,
Gather.
and then second and third best are like Kadabra and Haunter. No, not Gendar and Alakazam, Kadabra and Haunter. The second stages or first stages.
Is it ever so meta?
Yeah, because like what happens is like because the rentals are meant to be all kind of at like a similar power level, they'll nerf the fully evolved Pokemon like stat wise and moveset wise. So even though Alakazam is still stronger than Kadabra because Kadabra has Psychic while Alakazam only has Psybeam, Kadabra ends up having the strongest like Psychic attack in the tier. And Haunter just ends up with better moves than Dendar does because it's got like Psychic and Meta Drain. Dendar's just got like Thunderbolt and like Hypnosis.
Gather.
Fair enough.
And I'll never have anyone to play with because Kyle never responds to me.
I was gonna say was it's not when it comes to emulation, but Nintendo when it comes to like those little mini consoles that we were just talking about, where it's like the Sega has one and PlayStation has one, they're both ass.
Oh, like the SNES Mini and
Yeah,
those things.
I was gonna say the SNES Mini kicks ass. Now, I'm not saying it's something I or many other people couldn't bake up in a Raspberry Pi in a couple hours in a lazy day, but it's like it's actually a really awesome system that they've kind of designed that has some really cool features and stuff, and the fact that it's really moddable is really nice as well. As compared to like PlayStation Mini, which I think also is moddable, so credit to where it's due. Like the
That's
Sega
true.
Mini and stuff like that as well. So it's like the Nintendo one kind of kicks ass compared to those two. So it's like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with that.
That is true, especially the NES Mini. I think because like the SNES Mini, the Nintendo's SNES emulation has always been like pretty decent, like for Virtual Console and stuff. But the NES one needed a lot of work before they pushed that into anything bigger.
And it's weird because both the NES Mini and the SNES Mini run better than the in-house Switch emulations, whatever the hell they have on them. It's very peculiar move by Nintendo to have their Switch emulations just be garbage for no reason.
Yeah, it's a very interesting move. Had to see how it pays off for them. Well, everything pays off for them. So
Well, not the Wii U.
at this point, that's true. For Wii U, did you get everything downloaded off on the Wii U that you would want downloaded before the store shut down?
Here's the thing you gotta realize, it's the same with the 3DS as well. If I really want to get something, their Nintendo consoles are not hard to mod.
There are other methods.
Very easy
The
to
only
mod.
things I was really worried about. The only things I was really worried about were the Pokemon demos for ORAS and Sun and Moon.
Fair.
Because those ones actually have some kind of exclusive Pokemon if you wanted to have those officially.
Oh, also fun thing
The
about
saddest part was though. Oh, go on.
Fun thing about the Wii U, almost all of its games run better on PC. The Wii U is kind of a bad console.
Honestly, yeah.
It's like this, instead of buying a Wii U and modding it or whatever, at that point, just play the damn games on PC. You'll have a much easier experience, and it'll just be better. Like the actual game will just be better.
Yeah. Like out of all the consoles on my shelf, Wii U gets the least love. Well, no, okay. The Sega Genesis gets the least love, but that's because that one doesn't even work. But after that, it's the Wii U. And the worst part is my Wii U counts for both my Wii U and my Wii right now. But also, using your Wii U as your Wii actually like really sucks from like an experience standpoint.
Yes. Using your Wii U for most anything really sucks. In any standpoint.
Well, like,
The
if you
Wii.
want to use your Wii U,
Another one.
I'll do my bit first. Because if you want to use your Wii U as a Wii, ideally the way you want to do it is you want to have it output 480p, so you can do your own like upscaling or whatever for it. But you can't have it just set to 480p in Wii mode, because you have to do the settings in the Wii U system settings, which you can't access from the Wii menu. You can only access from the Wii U menu, and you can't have separate settings for both the Wii U and the Wii. So even if it's better to play the Wii U in its native 720 or 1080p, you would also have to deal with the Wii U's upscaling if you tried to play the Wii U in those modes. So you have to change it every time you want to switch between which one you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that suck about the Wii U. Like I said, the couple good things about the Wii U that'll give it bonus points over. It is nice for those few games that use it correctly to actually have that second screen instead of the Switch where it's just one screen. You can have it either handheld or on the TV. Like the Wii U, Mario Maker on the Wii U is like a quadrillion times better than Mario Maker on the Switch. And that's not to say Mario Maker 2 sucks, but like Mario Maker 1, like actually designing levels and like doing stuff in Mario Maker 1 is so much better than Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, like it was definitely made with the Switch in mind.
Yeah. Very good Wii U. Yeah.
Or yeah, with the Wii U in mind, I mean.
Yeah, it's something that's apparent in like those few games that can use it correctly, which is few and far between because not a lot of them do.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Wii U controllers were also really good. Like we already talked about the gamepad, but also the Wii U Pro controller, much better than the Switch Pro controller in my opinion. The feel is just better.
I get that. No, I mean the Wii U gamepad itself is kind of clunky. I think the Switch is definitely an improvement over it. I still wish there was a mode on the Switch where you could have it be a second screen, but you know, obviously it's not the way it was designed. So
Yeah.
kind of impossible to have it be a second screen and you literally pull it out of the dock.
Could you imagine if there was a way to use a Switch Lite as a controller? That would be so funny.
They still use the 3DS as a controller on Smash Ultimate, which is a very cool feature. Sakurai is awesome.
Sakurai is awesome.
Cool dude. Nothing but love for Sakurai.
Agreed. Oh, I need to go through and binge all of his videos. I
kept up with him for a bit,
but they were first coming out.
Same.
I can't believe he's still making them. What a good guy.
Just a cool dude. Very loves games. Very nerdy. And usually wants more people to be able to make games. He just loves the medium. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So much respect for Sakurai.
I wonder what he's gonna do now that
Speaking
he
of,
stopped working on Smash. But I highly
I
doubt
don't
that he's
know.
not gonna be working on the next Smash. He says he isn't, but who knows?
We know what type of person he is.
I mean,
He'll end up getting himself involved.
he seems like he's in semi-retirement right now, but he might make another kick or another Kirby or something. Who knows? Something else entirely. Maybe he'll go over to Rare
Yeah.
Studios and help them make that game that they were working on for a decade and a half that they never showed anybody.
Oh yeah, that would be a prime thing for him to help out with.
I'm still a little perplexed. We got nothing for them for like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, yeah, we're gonna end Prime now because the other company we hired to do it sucked ass. It's like, huh?
What?
It seemed the one piece of artwork that we've gotten from it seemed to be interesting at the very least. Which is that one like leaked image from Reggie's desk. It's like hidden behind another thing, and like you can see like the character's like hand and part of its head and stuff. It's like, it looks like a little robot boy or something. What were they making? What were they making? We'll never know.
What was he cooking?
Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever know. This Prime 4 is just going to be the next game, and everyone's going to forget about it. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hopping back a bit. Speaking about using a 3DS to control something on a TV, at the moment, looks like there's going to be a 3DS consolizer mod that they're maybe released at the end of the year. For playing 3DS original hardware on the TV.
I know there's some stuff related to like other Nintendo handhelds. Like obviously there's the Link with GameCube and shit for GBA.
Yeah. So so right now GBA's got a ton of options out there because there have been so most of the Game Boy so most of the current like IPS kit screens for the Game Boy Advance, like where you replace it with like a nicer backlit screen. Nicer is debatable, but like a backlit screen. Most of those nowadays are including HDMI out, like as an option. And then there have also been a lot of Game Boy Advance consolizers, like Woozles was out for a while, but like there are like some other options now, so like you're more likely to be able to actually find one in stock.
Mm-hmm.
But the DS and the 3DS, like no one's like really been able to do anything with those yet. And like even because like Woozle, the one who did the Game Boy Advance consolizer, in 2020 he posted a tweet that he was working on it with like a proof of concept picture, and that was all we ever saw. We've got nothing since then. Yeah, and then there's another company, Damebox Systems. So last year in March, they said, yeah, so we have a DS consolizer in the works. Expect it like at the end of Q1, 2023.
This'll do the trick.
And then this March, they got back on there and were like, hey guys, turns out that design was garbage, so we're going to put up a poll for what console you want us to work on next. And so for consolizer, the poll was like old 3DS, the 2DS Slate, PSP 1000, or original DS. And the one people voted on the most was old 3DS. So they're currently working on a consolizer for that, and they're saying to expect it by the end of the year, but no promises because part shortage is still happening.
We'll have to see this news coming up from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo versus Bowser.
No, I haven't.
Nintendo versus Gary Bowser, not Doug Bowser. Gary Bowser.
There's a Gary Bowser.
Yes, and apparently he got in trouble because he was selling hacked switches. He'd hack the switches for people, and then he'd give them back, but he'd pay a surcharge for it, basically. And so he got in trouble for that, and Nintendo gave him a slap on the wrist. So he decided to do it again. And Nintendo this time has now permanently taken 30% of his income for the rest of his life from every paycheck he gets for the rest of his life. Which is
That is awful.
It's a little brutal. Yeah. No, I saw that he had done it once before, and I was like, "Oh, that's what you get for doing it once before, and then trying to do the hand that feeds." And I saw it was 30% of his paycheck for the rest of his life. I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "That's too much. That's brutal." And that's after he
That's
also
awful.
serves time in jail for it as well. So, yeah. So, I'm like, man, I'm glad I got my hack 3DS already. I don't know how much people are gonna be willing to do like hack stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the modding companies in Japan had to shut down because they had like even more strict laws over there.
Mhm.
Because like for a while, I think it was Katsukity who did 3DS kits from Japan. They had to just completely shut down.
Yeah. No, I mean Japan. Yeah, Japan is very like cracked down on that kind of stuff. But I think the only country where you can really get away with it without getting in trouble on like a mass scale is like China, because China just doesn't care. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. And it really sucks because console modding is such like an important thing, especially in like retro communities.
Mhm.
And it's also really unfortunate because it's like, I don't know, especially when you start talking about like people who like do and like review games and stuff on YouTube, like a lot of interest in older stuff is kept alive by that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like so eternally frustrating.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? It is technically
Complain about it on the
it
internet.
is technically their legal right. So, at the end of the day, so Nintendo. People are trying to like bring up how Nintendo lost against Game Genie all those years ago. So that Game Genie can legally alter the game or whatever. It's like that should set a precedence for us to be able to do. It's like it doesn't though. Like I know you think it does, but all it does is that people can modify games, so they'll get in trouble for it. Not you can sell like modified carts and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like you can make a business off of their business essentially. Like that isn't almost your entire work.
Mm-hmm.
So Game Genie in emulation gets a pass. Modding consoles does not. So
Yeah. I think modding consoles would have to take like a very specific. Because I don't know how they would do that. Because like there's definitely an argument for it being legal. I just don't know if anybody has enough money to make that argument convincingly.
yeah, I don't know
Like
who
how much money
Nintendo.
would you have to spend?
A lot. I don't know who Nintendo went to court with over emulation.
That was I think it was Bleak or I don't think it was Nintendo. I think it was actually Sony. Because that was over the. Because I was thinking that was over PS1 emulation. I think it was like Bleem. I think there's like a PS1 emulator where they'd release like a disc like every like couple months that had like a bunch of games you could emulate for it on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it was Sony that lost that a while ago, like back in the PS1 days. I wish console modding was more like acceptable. That's just like there's so much stuff that Nintendo never actually does on their own.
Well, and there's only so much the like game preservation argument can take you before it's like, okay, you're taking a piss.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's a certain point where it's like Nintendo doesn't fucking care about like people getting access to games that they used to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like try to get an original, like try to play Pokemon Emerald anywhere. Oops. Emulate it, jackass.
Yeah, let's
like,
go buy it. $2.
it's like try to get any of like the GameCube Fire Emblem games. Nope,
Mm-hmm.
that ain't happening. Unless you're willing to pay literally like hundreds to even thousands of dollars in some cases for so many games. It's just not, it's not realistic. You know, the Golden Sun series. Sorry if you're a fan of that and you want to play the games. Oops.
Yeah.
You better have either bought it as a child or, you know, have lots of money to pay for it. So, that's just kind of the Nintendo MMO. They're not the greatest, in my opinion, when it comes to practices involving, I would say game preservation, but it's like just accessibility.
Yeah.
Just being able to play their games. It'd be really nice if they had, you know, features that allowed you to do that. But, whatever. And it's not even that hard. Legitimately, we're seeing Microsoft do it, obviously because they have a vested interest in it. We're seeing Sony do it, though, as well. Just start releasing your fucking games on PC. Like, it's not that hard. Nintendo could very easily just sell licenses to their emulated games on PC. And people could just play them. But I don't know how many years it will take Nintendo to catch on to that the PC is a very not volatile platform that is going to be sticking around.
Probably a while yet. Oh, Nintendo.
I'm not even like a PC elitist. Like I like consoles sometimes, although I haven't bought the latest Sony and Microsoft stuff. I like consoles sometimes though, you know, older consoles. But PC really is going to continue to reign supreme for however it exists. Computers have kind of become our MO, whether it's Mac or PC or a Linux machine. You know, it's like there's a reason why people like them a lot. It's because they're very useful in multiple different facets of our life. And they're going to continue being that way to the end of time. So, if every gaming company could just get on PC, please. I'm just tired of when exclusives happen, and I don't mind it anymore because a lot of the time, like I said with Sony stuff, they're timed exclusives at this point. They come to Steam after a while. It's like, okay, no big deal. Microsoft, it goes to Game Pass after a while. So no big deal. Nintendo's the only holdout, really. It's just Nintendo. So it could be really nice if Nintendo just started, you know, releasing some of their older games on some kind of emulated platform. And, you know, dare I say, on Steam. That seems a whole other can of worms that people don't like to talk about, so.
Yeah.
Doesn't I like Steam as much as the next guy. I would not be opposed to some friendly competition, though.
Yeah.
That is an absolute ass. Cough cough epic.
Yeah.
It's so garbage. God, just think about how bad epic is. Ew.
Really is.
Like, there's really no alternative to the Steam platform that has gotten off the ground in any way other than we just want to hold on to more of our sales because Steam takes too big of a cut, so we want to, you know, we're EA, we want to make Origin so that we can have all of our sales to ourselves, basically. That's like fair enough, but also like Steam's the storefront, the main storefront for a reason. We've been doing what they've been doing for so long. That's fun, it's random though, so.
I mean, that's fair. It's not like I have a lot to talk about today, because I'm just so upset about Pokemon Stadium. As I always am.
If there's anything else that
Oh yeah, also... I'm also upset about N64 on Switch, because I can't get the freaking controller. It's like, apparently the N64, like, controller, like, the Switch one is actually pretty good. Like, a lot of people have been getting it just to, use it with, like, a Bluetooth adapter on their actual N64. But also, I can't buy it. It's out of stock.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's another big thing I wanted to mention with Nintendo is artificial scarcity is fucking annoying. They do it all the time.
They're acting like they're a freaking toy company.
Makes them lots of money. I'm still thinking about the fucking amiibos. It pissed me off. I just wanted the amiibos. For Smash. Most of them, you know, because I like collecting them. And then it was just like, well, actually, unless you're in this specific location or you can shell out this amount of money, then you're fucked. It's like, okay, thanks, Nintendo. It's cool. Don't worry about it, man. I'm not that angry or anything.
Nintendo's so garbage.
Yeah, there's another series I was thinking about recently. Anime related. Oh, have you watched JoJo? Yeah, we talked about this before, haven't we?
Oh yeah, I need to get caught, or I need to watch more JoJo, because I'm still at the same point we talked about it last time, where I've watched part 1, 2, and the first half of part 3.
So here's the skinny, the rub. Part 6 finished. It's anime. I believe it finished. I don't know. I haven't heard of it. I'm not a big fan of part 6. Part 7 is literally the best part of JoJo of all time. End sentence. So. We should catch up.
So it's very exciting that we're going to be anime for it.
It's. I'm very excited for people to experience it. I think it'll be great. It's genuinely.
Is it part?
Awesome.
Is it part 7 that has like the super reset, or is that the next one?
Yeah. So parts 1 through 6 all take place in the same timeline. Part 7 through 9 take place in a separate timeline, completely separate. He just wanted to do a different timeline, basically, but it used a lot of the same character names and stuff like that. And a lot of people have misconceptions that it's like tied into part 6 because part 6 is really confusing ending about like resetting the universe and stuff, but it's actually a completely separate universe from it still, so yeah, it's just completely separate. Just shared names and that's it.
Okay, so I could probably just start with part 7 whenever the anime comes out, right?
If you want to. I mean, it's probably not the worst thing you can do. But part 3 is really good, part 4 is really good. Part 5 is pretty good, in my opinion. Part 6 is kind of punk shoe, in my opinion.
I've heard your feelings on part 6 at length.
Yeah, part 6. I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
But
I'll definitely think about it. I know I need to finish watching JoJo.
Yeah. Part 6, what I'll say about it is Jolene, despite me not really liking her character, does get probably one of the best character growths out of the whole series, so I'll give her that.
Okay.
and also has Pucci, who is amazing. The joke I always made about Part 6 is Part 6 only has 2 good characters, and one of them's not even from the part, because the 2 good characters in Part 6 are Pucci, the main villain, and Jotaro. Jotaro is awesome in every single part 6 now, that's all I gotta say. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Part 6 is it's one of those things where it's like, make fun of Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is still great. It's still part of the critically acclaimed Dark Souls series. It's the worst one, but it's still great. It's like Part 6 is still great, despite my bitching.
Yeah, it's like saying the worst part of the stew is the potatoes. Like, yeah, maybe you're right, but at the same time, like it's still like good part of the stew.
It's true. Good part of the stew. It's true.
Yeah. So one exciting anime that hopefully you'll be able to watch soon is that the Digimon reboot finally got a dub.
Okay.
Because they did that Digimon reboot 3 years ago at this point. That was like really high quality animation that like they really went all out for. It seems like.
Nope, it sounds good.
Yeah. For whatever reason though, it did not get a dub until like this month. However, we still don't know how we're going to watch the dub. Because at the moment, you can only buy it, like, episode by episode on, like, I think it's, like, iTunes or Google Play or something like that. And buying the whole thing would cost you, like, several hundreds of dollars.
The classic Hunter x Hunter dub moment.
Yeah. So, not sure how we're going to watch it yet. We're hoping it'll get put on a streaming service at some point, but we are very excited to start that once we find a way to watch it. Let's see. New season of Demon Slayer has started.
I shouldn't cry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's just okay. It's okay.
Let's see. What else have I been reading?
I don't dislike Demon Slayer. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here.
Yeah, no, go.
Imagine if like Ufo Table like like that Ufo Table like did research or something. Joking. Like, would it be funny if they did a really good series and really did it? That was next discovery.
Oh, I think the middle part of so far, like of Demon Slayer, was really good. I think the beginning of it is like 6 at best, maybe 5 for most of it. I think most people just really liked it because of how good the animation was.
Yeah, I mean the animation definitely carried it, in my opinion. I don't think it's awful,
but
it's I would have loved to see the Table animate some better stories.
That's fair. But I do think that for me, like part from like the end of Mugen Train, like the back half of the Mugen Train movie, I think that like from that onward so far, it's been like really good in my opinion, like a 9 out of 10. Wait, what's today? Yo, new Mashal chapter just dropped. I'll have to read that later.
Going through this fucking world with no glide sucks balls.
Where are you at right now? Let me pull your screen back up. Why did I pull up YouTube? That is not what I needed to pull. What luck. Let's see. Oh, I did a playthrough of Luigi's Mansion for the first time in years the other day.
Ooh.
Well, me and my wife played through it. She had never actually played through it, and she's been on a Luigi kick because of the Mario movie. Oh wait, did you ever go and see that, by the way? That's something else we could talk about.
Yeah. Not exactly in a monetary position to go out to movies right now.
Okay, you know what? Fair. You know what? If you drive up to see us, we'll take you out to see it.
Oh, yeah, I'm in a monetary position to drive up and see you. Yeah, that's
Yeah, of course. The monetary difference between those. But she was in like a Luigi kick because of a movie coming out, and so we played through Luigi's Mansion, and playing through it again, like in a modern sense, like having already played through it before, and this is her first playthrough. It's such a good game, but like it's also infuriating to play through.
really. Why is that?
Yes. So for her, I think it was mostly the controls of it. Like they just never really clicked. Because like even whenever you know what's going on for the most part, there's a certain part of it that just like constantly feels just a little bit out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her, a lot of it was like very frustrating to play, even if she still had fun. And for me, like the pretentious prick inside of me is just like, I love this mansion, I love the layout, I love everything you do here, but it is so linear and like point by point that it's like, I just wish it would open up for me a little. But that's also me being a pretentious prick, so I like fully acknowledge that I'm the problem in that respect.
I think, it's one of those games that feels really solid to just like, when you understand it, to just play through. You know, let me go to this room, let me go to this room, let me do this and that. Especially more so when it comes to like, because 2 and 3 are a little bit more open. I guess 3 not so much actually, but 2 is a little bit. It's like 2 just doesn't feel as cohesive an experience as 1. 3, I haven't replayed it at all, so really feel it, but we'll see, I guess.
I know 3 we're planning to play soon because I never actually went out and got it. We're planning to play that one soon.
3 was very fun when I first played it. I say that much. I streamed all of it. Had a good time with it.
And 2, I played a little bit of, but currently I don't know where it is. I think my oldest sister has it because I let her borrow it. No idea if she still has it.
2 had some unique ideas that I think could have been explored better in the sequel game, but we're kind of explored in a different way, I guess I should say.
Because 2 had like 5 like separate mansions that were each smaller but a bit more open, right?
Yeah. So they're all like smaller, open mansions that all had bosses at the end of them. It was unique. I can't say it wasn't. But I'll probably never play it again. 3, I'll have to go back and play sometime because I remember having a lot of fun with it. So.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back and finish 2 at some point, and then we're gonna play through 3. Or actually, no, we're probably gonna play through 3 first, and then if we ever find that my sister has my copy, then we'll play it. If not, I'll just have to buy a new one. And honestly, probably on that one, we'll probably wait until that 3DS TV output mod comes out. You know what the best thing about digital out mods here recently has been?
Give me strength.
Is that over the last few years, because like at first, once like digital mods became a thing, like 6 or 7 years ago, at first they were all like, alright, so we're going to have our 720p and 1080p output modes, and we're going to make them as good as possible. And nowadays, mods are like, yeah, we're going to have those, we're going to maybe push it a little bit further with like a 1440p option. But we're also going to include like a low resolution 240p output option. So that way, if you have a good scaler, you can just use that instead. And kind of future proof it as better scalers come out. Yeah, which right now there's a the RetroTink 5X, which is a 4K 60 capable scaler that is currently in the works for retro gaming.
Okay.
And has like proper HDR implementation and like VSync options, so that way you can like actually kind of run your display at the console's native clock speed or like refresh rate.
Mhm.
And the proper HDR implementation is letting you get like even more accurate like pixel representation and scanline effects. It's all very exciting. Probably going to be like $1,000 device, but all very exciting. And the worst part is that if I were to ever get that, I know that I wouldn't bother getting it unless I also bothered to actually get a good enough TV to make proper use of it. Because, like, I do technically have a 4K TV right now. It was a hand-me-down from the mother-in-law. But it's also, like, a budget Walmart TV, so, like, it's fine. But, like, I'm not looking at shelling out $1,000 for the scaler, because I'd also shell out a couple thousand for a good enough TV for it to be worth.
True.
Boy, howdy. Have scanline effects, though, like, in terms of playing retro games, scanline effects have become, like, my favorite thing to mess around with.
I was thinking the other day, 'cause I saw a post went viral. Viral on Reddit. It was a dude.
Viral on Reddit.
It was a dude who made his Switch able to go on a composite TV. That's the Cory thing.
That is a Cory thing. Getting it on a composite and looking good is actually pretty difficult right now. Because, like, we have, because there are a lot of converters that can take you from, like, HDMI to component that are decent. So if you have a device that does downscaling, it's pretty easy. But there aren't a lot of devices that'll take you from HDMI to composite that won't either look awful or add lag, which is kind of the main issue we have right now with it. But it's also mostly because there's no one in like the retro game like development community that's really like bothered to make a device that'll do that. Like the ideal situation is that someone would make like basically an HDMI to component converter, but instead of HDMI to component, just have one that's HDMI to composite that doesn't do any processing. At least not in the same way that like because the ones right now, all they do is they don't properly process 240p. They all turn it into like 480i. And in that processing, they add lag because they're all designed to take it from like 1080p down to 480i. So ideally, what we would want is something that will just pass through a 480i or 240p signal, but just leave it as is when it goes from HDMI to composite. But just no one has really made that one at the moment. All the only composite ones we have are just kind of garbage. And when I say garbage, it's mostly just because they add lag.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you're trying to game is...
Specifically, you're doing a composite connection. Kind of the opposite of what you want.
Yeah. Because CRTs are so much better in the lag department than modern ones. So I keep on forgetting that I'm supposed to be grinding, and I just run around in circles like I'm trying to hatch eggs. In case you're wondering how I'm doing.
So good, yeah. Sounds good.
Let's see. I played the Luigi's Mansion. We haven't played through anything else yet recently. We haven't really. We're like trying to pick on like another like big game to focus on for a while. But we're kind of like undecisive. We kind of wanted to do another Mario one, but we tried 64 and just didn't really jive with her.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get back to that one at a different.
Some old Nintendo games do that. 64 is definitely one of those where if you never played it before, it might be a little hard. Or annoying, I should say.
Yeah. So my mistake was well, she was going through the first level, and I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, if you want, you can try to get the Chain Chomp Star first. And she could not, for the life of her, land the ground pound on that stick, which is a little harder on Switch because the Switch emulation has like the best stick emulation of anything so far. Like out of all of the Mario 64 like emulators that Nintendo did officially, but it's still not as good as an actual.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you know what also sticks or sucks is getting N64 stick replacements. There are no good ones. Like I would be more than willing to shell out like 50, 60 bucks to get like a really good one. And there was a website that was making them called Steel Stick 64, which they were like made out of steel. They refurbished like OEM parts that had like some broken as much as possible for like really good, really durable replacements. But they haven't released a batch of them in like over a year. And it's just like, come on, man, I just want like a good replacement. Because like my philosophy is for pretty much anything in retro, if it's one item I'm buying for like a good high quality replacement that I don't have to replace soon, I'm more than willing to pay like the $60 and up range for it.
And Metal Soul is really good. I'll be the first to say, if there's a product and it comes in metal and plastic and I pay like 100 extra for the metal version, I'm buying the metal version.
Yeah.
Like I'll never make that mistake again of buying a chair that has metal like seat stuff, like metal under the seat, or not metal under the seat, like plastic down there. It's just fucking
Oh yeah.
blows compared to having metal, with metal wheels and metal hookups down there.
Oh
So
yeah.
better.
The wheels in particular get shot so fast.
Yeah.
Let's go. Gather. Gather.
But yeah, the N64 is. I love it so much, but it's so awful to deal with.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, if the stick stayed in better repair, the N64 controller would still be, like, my favorite. Because, like, a well-repaired stick is so responsive, and and I really like the controller layout of 6 face buttons with 2 main ones and then 4 secondary ones. I think that's a really good controller layout. But alas, we don't get what I
Yeah, what you want. Pokemon.
No, if we got what I wanted to be good Pokemon all the time, we already get Pokemon all the time.
He's right.
Every now and then I'll be talking to Alexa about Pokemon, and she's like, you know, I'm so upset that Pokemon does DLC. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Or the alternative is another game that's just the exact same. I'm fine with the DLC compared to. I was
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about that, and I'm like, man, buying a whole other game and playing through a whole other Pokemon game, it's just the exact same thing, but with a couple things changed. That's so fucking ass.
You know, especially like the worst of it was Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, where we got like 2 games that they were the exact same thing. Oh, that was awful.
Yeah,
And it's like, but
pretty atrocious.
it's like when I think about it, it's like the DLC isn't really a replacement for that though. Like they're not doing it now because they're doing DLC, but that's not really what it's a replacement for. It's a replacement for like the post game, pretty
Yes.
much.
It's the post game.
Like
Basically.
instead of the fight area, like in Diamond and Pearl, which was fantastic, you did the Isle of Armor 6 months later.
Which is fantastic.
Which,
But
yeah, kind of wish it was there the whole time.
comes a little late. No, I do agree with that though. But I mean, also Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon didn't have a post. Or Sun and Moon didn't have really have a post game either. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, so don't think it was really
That's
that
true.
exclusive to. I mean, they've just been complete ass for the post games for a while now. So
Yeah.
remember
It's
Gen
like-
2 where it literally just the post game was Gen 1.
Oh yeah, that was so dead too. I was like, let's see.
Insane.
Because Gen 5, you had the whole, like, basically had like a second half of the map to explore. Or maybe like a second, like, third of it. Gen 6. Gen 6 did not have much. Gen 6 is where it started to go downhill for post game. And Gen 7 was better than Gen 6 because you had a bit more explorable space that opened up, but it really wasn't much. Gen 8 had the DLC.
Yeah.
It's like if you count the DLC as post game, a good amount of post game. Don't know if we should. And then Gen 9 here has nothing. Unless you count all the 7-star raids.
Yeah, no, Pokemon post games are nowadays, but what can you do? Other than not releasing a game every year.
Yeah.
Oops. That's,
Yeah. I was thinking, could you imagine if Pokemon just released their own like standalone releases of or not really like HD collections for each of their generations? Just standalone, like their own like packages with home connectivity and all that. That'd be the dream. I don't think they'd ever do it, but they could.
Speaking of Nintendo, you're gonna be playing Tears of the Kingdom comes out for a week.
Yes, we are. We're actually thinking about replaying Breath of the Wild in the lead up to it. Because Alexa never actually played through the whole thing.
I'd say you probably don't need to, considering a bit of repeat content from Breath of the Wild in this one.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the trailers or whatnot. I don't want to go in as blind as I can. But boy, howdy, have I seen a lot of pictures of Ganon. And howdy, have more of them than I expected had his out.
More than you expected?
Yeah, and I expected a reasonable amount. Of course, that also might just be the feed that ends up on Alexa's Twitter.
Cool. Woman be looking
She's
at
like, yeah, I'm gonna
Ganondorf
stay
penis. Woman be looking at Ganondorf penis all the time.
I mean, who doesn't?
Thunder. Thunder.
I'm excited to have a new Zelda game out, though.
Yeah. The only thing I wish, actual dungeons, actual upgrades. Oh, they haven't.
Yeah, actual dungeons is what I want the most. I mean, that's what I've been asking for in Pokemon for 7 years. What year is it? 2016? Yeah. 2016 was when Sun and Moon came out. And those games had one good dungeon. And that was it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I miss having good dungeons, Pokemon games.
Gather.
And in Zelda games, of course.
I mean, it's only been one game, so.
That's true. But a similar amount of time, temporally.
Fair enough. Breath of the Wild was in development for fucking eons, so. And I'm fine with there being a sequel to Breath of the Wild because, I mean, they always do this with Zelda. They always do the one game and then the sequel to it, basically.
Yeah.
It's not unseen territory.
Yeah, because it was Ocarina and then Majora's.
Thunder.
I think
Yes.
like
Yeah,
Skyward
Twilight
Sword.
Sword, and then you had Skyward Prince. What?
I think Skyward was, Skyward was built on the same like engine as Twilight, I think, or either that or Wind Waker was built with one of them. They're built like on similar engines. They basically just use the same engine. They look different. But...
Yeah, and Wind Waker. Oh yeah, Wind Waker had the Game Boy sequels or DS sequels, which Spirit Tracks so good. Story was good anyway. I know a lot of people really hated like the main dungeon in Spirit Tracks, but I liked it.
Thunder.
Let's see.
Okay. Thunder.
You're such a bitch.
I mean, fair enough. I did that a lot. Oh, this is the part you're doing. Oh, good luck.
Gather. Gather.
Oh yeah, I want to know one funny thing about playing Scarlet and Violet right now
This is it.
is that the Blissey event den they did, where it's just like Blissies that give you a whole bunch of resources. Is that if we just always had these Blissey dens going, I would have no complaints about the resource grind for competitive.
It's just trouble. Okay.
Oh, poor thing.
Oh, no. Are we still going? Hello?
Are we still going? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Are we still streaming? I don't know how long we were going for.
Oh, yeah. Well, since I'm not sitting at the desk, it's actually not as hard as as I was kind of expecting at first. So I'm basically good to go at least until Alexa gets home from work.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to call it at any point, I should actually probably go get me a drink and change some stuff real quick.
Okay, I might pause you then.
Okay. Yeah, it was good to talk to you.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you. This
I
Kingdom
love
Hearts
you
run will never
dearly.
be finished. Say it ain't so.
no. And you had such a good time, really competitive too. I think. Anyway, thank you very much for being on call here with me.
Fun talks. Just chilling and vibing. Hopefully
Yeah,
soon
just chilling and vibing.
talk again.
Yeah.
We never fucking talked about One Punch Man. What is wrong with us? We said we are gonna do that this
right.
time.
Yeah, we were in the middle
Oops.
of like a full One Punch Man talk before.
Oops.
That's all right.
All right, next time for
We'll
sure.
get back.
Next time for sure.
You know what the funniest part is that one of the first things we talked about was like a One Punch Man adjacent manga that I compared to One Punch Man, and we still forgot. We'll get back to our randomizer at some point.
Well, thanks everyone who's here.
Yeah, thank you, Pup, for
Chilling.
stopping by.
Yeah, that's gonna be it for me.
All right. Bye, everybody. Oh,
Bye,
God, I'm
everyone.
standing up.